everyone, welcome to another Craftastic Online. Today I'm going to show you basic block printing. Block printing is a process that involves carving into linoleum, wood, foam, or other carvable surfaces, and then printing an impression of that carved surface onto paper, fabric, and other surfaces that can hold the ink. Okay, let's look at the materials we'll need for this project. I purchased everything here on Amazon. I want to say it was around $20. You can buy the Speedy carved blocks in bulk packages if you want to do this with family or friends, or you can buy them as an individual block. This is a rubber block that's soft and easy to cut into. It kind of reminds me of the pink rubber erasers we used in elementary school. This is a speedball lino cutter, and it came with various tips, from a thin V carver that's going to give me fine lines to a wide tip, a wider V that is going to cut a wider path into the rubber. I also am going to use a graphite stick, but you can use a pencil, and this is for transferring my image to the block. Speaking of images, I found a picture that I liked on Google Images and printed it. And then for the inking process, I have Speedball acrylic ink that will work well for fabrics. I'll be able to wash my piece when it's done. And then a brayer that we'll use to transfer the ink evenly onto the block. Okay, here's a simple way to transfer your image to the rubber block. I'm going to take my graphite stick and coat the back of my image. Okay, and now that that's covered, I'm going to flip the image, place it on the block, and use my ballpoint pen to transfer the image. Okay, so it transferred pretty well. I've got some smudges from where I pressed harder with my hand, but I'm just going to ignore that when I carve away. First, before I begin carving, I'm going to cut away the excess material, which I can use for another stamp. I put the cutting blade on the end of my Speedball lino cutter, and then I'm just gonna It's time to start cutting. Remember, when you begin, you need to consider your image. The material you cut away will not print. Everything you leave will print. So the light areas I would cut away, and the dark areas I'm going to keep. Also keep in mind that if you want to include letters or numbers, you need to transfer them in the reverse image. I'm going to keep my original image nearby for reference, and let's get started. Also, keep in mind these blades are sharp, so you want to carve away from yourself. Okay, I added the wide V tip to my holder so that I can make quick work of the excess material around the edges. Okay, I've essentially finished carving my design into the rubber block. You can see I've accumulated quite a pile of shavings over here. I did attach the wide V tip onto my tool for the mottled patchwork in the fish. I needed something a little wider to carve that out. Next, I'm going to take my graphite stick and run it across the top of the image, and you can see it just darkens the area that is the highest, so I can see where the ink is going to lay when I make my impression. This is a good way to test before you do the impression on paper or fabric or some sort of thing like that. Okay, let's get started with inking. I'm going to use Speedball acrylic ink. There are two types of ink that you can use. There's water-based and oil-based. This is water-based, so it'll clean up easily with water. Oil-based, you'll need solvents to clean up, so it's a little more difficult. This one is permanent as well, even though it's water-based. Okay, I'm going to put just a little bit of ink on my, usually you'd use an ink pad. I don't have one here at home, so a smooth flat surface should be just fine. So I'm going to evenly spread it out with my brayer. And then I'm going to just gently roll it over the top of. Okay, once we have a thin coat of ink on our block, I'm going to press it into the paper. The nice thing about using paper first is it can be a trial run. So once you take it off, and if you notice any imperfections, you can rinse off the ink, use your carving tool to correct, and then start over again. I'm pressing firmly to transfer the ink. It will leave a nice impression of the image. Next we'll try it on. If you don't want to start with a detailed image like the fish, start with a simple one like the lily pad. This is basically a circle with some lines carved out of it and a notch. And then I'm going to use the design in a repeat, which will make it fun and interesting. I'm going to transfer the image to a canvas bag. I've inserted a piece of cardboard to protect it from bleeding through to the other side. After adding a thin coat of ink, I'm going to do the same thing as I did with the paper. Okay, so as you can tell, it came out a little lighter than on the paper because the fabric is porous, so the ink isn't staying on the surface as much as the paper. And now I'm going to add some lily pad details. Okay, this wraps up our Craftastic Online video of simple block printing. For more crafting inspiration, check out the Creative Bug database, free with your Novi Public Library card. Thanks for watching and happy crafting!